The sound of her smile. A tragic tale of a blind lover whose love was deeper than sight, but not stronger than truth. Liam had been blind since birth. Yet he never saw it as a curse. His world was built from sounds, textures, and the music of people's voices. Most of all, he believed in love, not the kind shaped by faces but by feelings. He met Eliza on a rainy afternoon, sitting on a bench outside the music school. She was crying, and her voice was like the softest violin. He offered her his umbrella. She laughed, a little startled. "You can't even see me," she said. "But I hear you," Liam replied. "And you sound beautiful." That was the beginning. They spent months together, walking through gardens, him describing the scent of jasmine and her describing the way sunlight played on the petals. She would read to him. He would play the piano for her. They seemed perfect. But Liam didn't know what everyone else could see. Eliza was not with him for love. She was with him out of pity and guilt. She had caused the accident that took his sight. Years ago, as a reckless teen, she had been texting while driving. Liam was in the crosswalk. The guilt had haunted her every day since. When she saw him again outside the music school, she thought fate had given her a chance to redeem herself. She told herself she'd make him happy to make up for what she'd done. She never meant to fall in love. But Liam loved her purely, unconditionally. Every song he composed, every note he played was for her. And every time she smiled, he asked her to describe it. "Describe your smile for me, Eliza," he'd say. She'd reply, "It's small, quiet, like the curve of a crescent moon." He'd say, "Then that's what heaven looks like." But the guilt was a cancer. It ate her alive. On the anniversary of his accident, Eliza broke down. She confessed everything, the car, the lie, the reason she stayed. Liam was silent for a long time. Then he whispered, "You were the only thing I could ever see clearly." He walked away that night and never played the piano again. Prologue. Years later, in a dark and dusty bar, a song sometimes plays on the broken jukebox. A haunting melody. No lyrics. Just piano. If you ask the bartender, he'll tell you the story of the blind man who wrote it, a song called "The Sound of Her Smile." And if you listen closely, you can hear a tear fall between the notes. Would you like this expanded or rewritten from Eliza's point of view, or turned into a screenplay or short film script? You said. Continue. ChatGPT said. Of course. Here is the continuation of "The Sound of Her Smile," from both Liam's haunted solitude and Eliza's broken repentance, how their lives unraveled after the truth and what fate ultimately left for them. The Sound of Her Smile, Part 2. Through Eliza's confession, Liam vanished from her life. No note. No goodbye. Just silence. He left the city, sold the piano, and moved into a quiet village far from memory. The villagers only knew him as Mr. Gray, a quiet man who walked with a cane and never spoke of his past. He spent his days tending to a garden he couldn't see, growing jasmine, the only scent that reminded him of Eliza's laughter before the lie. But he still composed, only in his mind. No instruments, no sheet music. Just echoes of her voice, locked in his heart. At night, he would lie in bed and whisper, "Smile for me one more time, Eliza." Eliza's silence. Eliza returned to the bench where they had first met. Every day. Every week. Hoping. She carried a letter with her, unread, unopened, rewritten dozens of times. In it, she wrote everything she never had the courage to say. "I came to you out of guilt, but I stayed because I fell in love. I tried to make up for my crime with kindness, but you gave me something I never deserved, real love. I destroyed the only man who ever saw me for who I was, not what I looked like. I hope, wherever you are, you're free from the sound of my lies. I miss the way you listened. I miss the way you believed." But she never sent it. She eventually stopped playing violin, her music fading into the same silence Liam had vanished into. Her soul lived under the weight of forgiveness she'd never be granted. 10 years later, a young boy in the village where Liam lived had a gift for music. He heard Liam humming to himself while pruning the garden. The boy was fascinated. One day, he asked, "What's that song?" Liam shook his head. "It's not a song. It's a memory." But the boy wouldn't let it go. Over the months, he begged Liam to teach him. And so finally, Liam sat at a dusty old piano in the corner of the village chapel, and used for years, and played "The Sound of Her Smile." People wept, though they didn't know why. Word of the melody spread. One day it reached a city far away, where Eliza, now older, alone, and grieving a love she lost long ago, heard it on a public radio broadcast. She froze. It was his music. Her hands trembled. She packed a bag and boarded a train the next morning, not knowing if he would even want to see her. The final meeting. She found him sitting in his garden, eyes closed, listening to the wind. He didn't need to look up to know it was her. "Eliza," he said simply. Her voice cracked. "How did you know it was me?" "Because for the first time in 10 years I heard your smile." She fell to her knees beside him, tears spilling onto the soil. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to hear you say my name one more time." He reached for her hand, older now but still familiar. "I never hated you. I just didn't know how to love you after the truth." They sat there in silence, the jasmine blooming around them. That night, for the first time in a decade, Liam played for her, one last time. Not for guilt, not for memory, but for peace. Prologue. Liam passed away quietly 2 weeks later. At his funeral, a single violin piece was played, composed by Eliza. It was called "The Forgiveness Waltz," and as the last note lingered, every heart in the chapel felt what Liam had always known. That love, even when shattered by truth, still echoes louder than silence.